Welcome back, Streamer Nation. I'm your host, Michael Simeone. You're listening to the SP Streamer Podcast, and I am here along with my co-host, Lauren Auerbach. What's going on, Lauren?
Not much. Just getting ready for baseball. We are 2 sleeps away. I guess actually when this comes out, we'll be 1 sleep away, but that's very exciting. So it's finally here. I mean, we've been doing this, it's been months talking about drafts, players, going through injuries, and it's here. It's at the door. So I'm super excited about it.
I was saying it's very exciting, but at the same time, I'm kind of scared because I'm afraid that my teams will all be terrible.
Well, that's always the thing. But it's a slog, though. It's the marathon. You could start out with a bad team and be
okay. Yeah, right. But it's just scary. It's like, you put in so much work for preparation and figuring out what players you like, you don't like, all that stuff, and then what if you were wrong?
Yeah. Well, I know, but you do the best that you can and then kind of see where those players fall,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So how many NFBC leagues did you end up doing?
I think 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. And you did I know you had TGFBI. Did you had Battle of the Pods?
I did Battle of the Pods.
Do DC Darf. These the rest? Okay.
I did 2, and then I did 2 draft and holds and an on the wire listener guest. And that was a 12-teamer fab league, of course.
Okay.
On the wire. So yeah, 6 or 7 in there.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I just jumped in because I'm the worst. So I have a home league draft, and I was like, let me do another one while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So I did a RotoWire OC qualifier.
Oh, okay.
Like this way, if I win it, then I get into an OC for free.
Yeah, there you go.
Paying for it again.
Wait, so how many?
So I'm in a lot, but a lot of them. I mean, they're not all. So I did 8 alone, basically. So I have 8 alone, but then you add in Turf, TGFBI, Battle of the Pods. So it's really a little, and then a First Pitch Arizona one I did.
Oh, right.
So it's really like 12. And then we have a Discord Discord team that we did. So I got to do that too. So I got a good amount there.
Is this like a normal amount of teams that you do, or is this
is the most I've ever done?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, only 3 of them are fab that I really have to worry about. So.
That's not that bad then.
Yeah. All right, so the main purpose of this episode, we're going to discuss what to look for in week 1 of the baseball season, basically who to watch and why, and those types of things. But there was a fab period that happened on Sunday night. So if you play in the NFBC and you play in fab leagues, there was a fab period where you could add players and stuff. And Todd Whitestone, who writes over at SP Streamer, he does an article tracking main events, which for those who don't know what that is, that's high stake leagues. It's like $17.50 to join, to just get in the league, with a overall prize of like $175,000, I think it is. So he tracks the fab for those leagues, which I think is pretty cool and interesting, and definitely something you want to watch if you're in even any waiver wire league, even in your home league, because then you could see what these these really good players are adding for their teams. And that could kind of give you an edge, even if you're in like a daily league, you could look at this every Monday morning when it comes out and be like, oh, this guy's out there. Maybe I should grab him, since a lot of these guys are grabbing him for a reason. So Todd does a really good job. He shows who had the most bids for the week, and then he shows who had bids over $100 for the week, or even $200 out of $1,000 budget. So that just kind of lets you know, who's really being looked at. So I'm just going to kind of talk about who was most added this week, because I find it interesting. The first one was Dylan Tate. He was added in 15 leagues. He was the most added player, because he's possible Baltimore closer. And
that came right before that 10 p.m. deadline. I feel like there was that trade before, and there's a big flurry of activity there.
His highest bid went as high as $79, with as low as $1.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
The next was Greg Holland, possible Texas closer. He was added in 14 leagues, which I find kind of interesting. I don't know if you ever looked at Holland. I mean, Holland obviously has a lot of experience closing, but he's not really good anymore.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like a play for, a veteran closer, but I think that whole Texas bullpen is, I did take a flyer on in one of my last rounds of a DC for Garrett Richards, just to kind of zag, because I feel like other people. Yeah. So we'll see. I know that he now has like a blister on his hand or whatever, but that's kind of a stay away bullpen for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think he will have it, and if you want to add him just for the role, that's fine. Just in case he does get you a couple saves, probably not going to get you good ratios, but I think eventually, Barlow will take it back over.
I think that's the case too.
Then we had Stephen Kwan, your guy, Lauren. He was added in 13 leagues.
I know.
He was the third most added player. That's because he made the team.
Yep.
Brian Stott was added in 11 leagues, and that's because he actually now officially has made the Phillies team. It's kind of between him and Bohm, which is kind of interesting. Jordan Hicks, I actually got him in one of my OCs and another league off of NFBC because he's in the closer mix now. They seem to love him there.
Yeah, and he's had a strong spring, right? And tons of whiffs, I think. From Hicks.
I mean, he's throwing 100 miles an hour. So, Kyle Wright was added in 10 leagues because he's going to be a starter for Atlanta. I think that's just pure I don't know. I feel like, is Wright really a thing anymore?
It's like that and what Tucker Davidson or I took a flyer on
Tucker
Muller,
Davidson,
but
I have a couple Muller in draft and hold. Next is Brad Miller. He's having a good spring. He's been leading off for Texas. So a lot of people added him. Daniel Bard, part of the closer mix for Colorado. And then Spencer Howard, who has been a favorite on Twitter a lot. A lot of people have a lot of shares of him. And then I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to pronounce his last name correctly, but I just call him Higgy because everyone calls him Higgy. Kyle Higashioka, for the Yankees. And it looks like because he's had a hot spring, could be the starter there. So why not take a shot on him? So that rounds out the most added. Just to tack on that really quickly, the most winning bids over $100 was Bryson Stott, who we talked about, CJ Abrams, who looks like he could be making the team, and then Matt Brash, who has made the starting rotation. He is the only player that went for over $200 in the league.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He went for 244 in the main event league.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How are you in terms of, say it's the first week of Fab? Have you thrown kind of triple digits at a player before? If you think that it's kind of a game changer very early on?
So it really depends. I'm the last person asked about Fab because this is the first real season I'm doing on NFBC, but I have asked a lot of people about it. I followed Vlad Sedler's article, and I am a little more conservative, especially this week. I know some people spent a lot of money on this first Fab. I've had people tell me go both ways. I've had people tell me that they've spent $80 on a player before the season starts and it worked out great for them. But I also heard vice versa. So it's kind of, I guess, a feel for it. Like I said, I got Hicks in one league for 17, but in my other league, he went for like $80 something. So it's like, it's so hard and they're both the same format. It's just, different leagues, people think differently, I guess. It's hard to kind of figure out.
There's not like kind of rhyme or reason, and that's, I guess, one of the things where you then have to kind of figure out as the season goes on. You kind of have to watch your league mates just to get an idea as to like what certain players are going at, because they could be going, like you say, for a smaller amount in one league, but like bucks in another league. So just kind of have to get a feel for your league mates.
Yeah. So, again, Todd Whitestone writes that, really, really good writer. That'll be up basically every week. He does it on Mondays after Fab has gone through, and just something super interesting to look at. Again, if you're in any waiver wire type of league, definitely a good thing to check out just to see what the, high stakes players are doing over there.
Yeah. I think that's something that translates really well, not just for NFBC, but like you said, for
any Fab league. Absolutely. All right, so let's start to talk about this upcoming week. So we're good. Like we said, baseball starts Thursday, which is amazing. Very excited, and but there's a lot to look for. I mean, so many. Obviously, I start to think of pitchers instantly. Like so many pitchers come out of nowhere that can change the direction of your team and force you to win leagues because like a Rodon last season, he was on the waiver wire. Robbie Ray was on some waiver wires last year, depending on your league size and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of room to, if you're watching the right things that could like change the trajectory of your team. So we're just going to discuss some of those players. I put some people here. Lauren put some people here. We're just going to kind of talk about what we're looking for with each player, that kind of stuff. All right. So first player is Justin Verlander. I put him on this list just because coming back from major surgery, missed the entire year last year. Big thing with him was velocity. Seems to have been doing it well in spring training. Seems to be pitching really well. I watched him a couple times. He looked pretty sharp. I was a little upset that I didn't have a share after watching that too. Because I'm very conservative in terms of injuries. What do you think he does this season, Lauren? Do you think you believe in him? And do you think the velocity will hold? Because, again, we only saw him in spring training. It's one thing to be able to do it for 60 pitches or only 3 starts. It's another thing to do it for an entire season. So, obviously, he's someone that you don't want to just watch week 1. You want to continue watching throughout the year. If his velocity starts tanking and he's on your team, you want to trade him, those kinds of things. But anyway, do you like him this year, Lauren? Are you kind of buying into what we're seeing in spring training here?
Yeah, he was one player, I think, kind of earlier on in draft season where I didn't take a shot, but I could see myself of kind of all of those kind of injury risk kind of pitchers. And I think, we've talked about this enough where I think, we draft the same where we're pretty risk averse and kind of steering clear of a lot of these injury guys coming off of injuries, especially pitchers. But I could see a case being made for Verlander prior to seeing his velocity increase in spring training. So he's one of the, I think, pitchers now where if he is sitting on the waiver wire, I would absolutely take a shot on him, and would maybe even if we still have a couple days left of drafting, if people are still doing drafts, I would draft him. So I think because he has such a strong track record, he missed all of last season. Did he? And was he out just prior? He was out. He was out all of 2020. Yeah, 2021. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then,
he had one start.
In 2020. Yeah. So I think that there is, that there is a lot of kind of a span there in terms of recovery. If there is anyone you're going to trust, I think it's Verlander. I wouldn't have a problem, like I said, kind of taking a shot on him now. And it's one of those things where I think that if that velo does tank, I don't know what he's going for right now, but I would take a shot. Pull him up real quick.
I know his ADP has gone up since spring training, and deservedly so, because obviously everyone was waiting for that, waiting to see what he was doing, especially the lockout. We couldn't really track him, so he's definitely been rising, and I've been raising him in our rankings as well, in my rankings as well, just because he has looked really sharp. It's just, again, it's a matter of can he continue holding on to it,
What do you think about him? Do you think?
Yeah, no, I like him. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of jealous I didn't have any shares because I didn't know. I mean, he was such a question mark, but now he looks good, and he's just very appealing because of it. All right, were you looking for his ADP or?
I was, but then I was talking to you and I got distracted.
All right, let's move on. You put in here talking about Gavin Lux, about his playing time. Pollock got traded, so it kind of opens up an avenue. I will say this before I ask what your opinion is. There has been a lot of talk about it on Twitter and a lot of arguments where people think it's some people think it's Lux and other people think it could be Edwin Rios.
Yeah. Yep.
what do you think the Dodgers do here?
That's the thing. I mean, and that's why I put him on here was because I think going through our list here, we'll see, I think, common themes of looking at pitchers with, either, high velocities. I think you look at rookies are interesting to take a look at, and then players who may be affected from trades. And I think that you want it in kind of lineup situations, I guess. And so for me, Lux falls in that situation where now that AJ Pollock's gone, what are the how are the Dodgers going to use him? And I know that the idea is it's either him or possibly Edwin Rios. I don't know. And that's one of the things that I want to take a look at. I've never been a huge Lux fan, but I also acknowledge the fact that he's never really had a ton of consistent playing time. So I just think that maybe this could be the start of that. But I don't know. I know that Edwin Rios is also there, but I think that if you're the Dodgers, just give him a shot right now. Time. See what you think about him. Yeah. Instead of just kind of like jerking him around. So if they're going to do it, now's the time to do it. And that's something that I want to be watching in terms of their lineup for the first week.
Yeah, I think it's very important to watch this and see what they end up doing here. If it is Lux, I mean, he's probably on someone's team, so it is what it is. If it's not, and it's Rios, he probably is going to be on your waiver wire and someone to definitely add. If he's playing every day for the Dodgers, you got to grab him.
Yep.
I think with Lux, it's now or never, though. I mean, I think they have to give him a shot, and they're going to finally. And we just got to see if he'll finally translate at the major league level. I mean, the guy was unbelievable in the minors, like unstoppable. His WRC plus in 2019 in AAA was 188.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Insane. That's insane. So he's just, it's like, when is this going to happen? So yeah, I think that's a good call. I think to see what happens with the playing time there will be very important. All right, let's move on to Jesus Lazardo, someone a lot of people are talking about, and that's because his velocity has ticked up pretty substantially in spring training, has pitched pretty well. An increase in velocity can mean a lot of good things, but not always. Like, it's not 100% type of thing. Also, can he hold that newfound velocity? I think the Marlins are just really good at handling their pitchers. So I want to assume that this means he is heading in the right direction, but he is definitely someone to watch early on. I'm pretty sure he's rostered in every single league there is. But that's going to be the key to his success. So like, if you have him on your team, you want to watch him, make sure A, the velocity sticks, and B, see if he's finally pitching good again. Right.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this probably in the earlier part of the offseason, or maybe the tail end of last season, where, the A's are like, okay, we're kind of done with this guy. And, whatever your thoughts were on Lazardo at the time, I think we both decided, both talked about how he's going to the Marlins is one of the best places that he could land. So, and if there was a place that could kind of get him going in the right direction or figuring something out, that was one of the best places to go. So I am curious to see, what goes on with him. Like you said, his velocity's been up. He's been getting, whiffs in his pitches. He's looked good so far this spring training. So maybe, they figured something out. And I hope that, I'm really kind of rooting for him because it's always fun to kind of see guys if they don't kind of work out somewhere, or there's just some little thing that kind of, they're able to unlock. And to do that with the Marlins, they've been, such a great pitching development organization for a lot of these young pitchers. So I'm really rooting for him, but I know that in terms of his availability, he was kind of talked about as a breakout candidate prior to spring training. So it's worth looking at, but I'm sure Lazardo's was a lot of people's flyers, kind of draft flyers this season. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to someone that you put in here that is a very polarizing player still. That's Keston Hiura. So you added in his spring training line, which is 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, with hitting 400.
Yeah, 400, 500.
Wild.
1,000 slash line. It's crazy. Now, of course, it's still coming with that, Keston Hira K rate. He's, I think, I don't have
it's like 30. I think it was like 30%.
That's the thing with him is that, he's got this career 34% strikeout rate in the majors. He just doesn't have good quality of contact skills, and it's that K rate, from 2019 through 2021 that increased. You saw the correlating decreases, in his contact and zone contact rates as well. So this is what he is, right? But apparently he had made I think a switch in kind of mechanics, and it's working. I don't know if it sticks. I do think that the Brewers, I think they'll give him a little bit of a leash to play. I don't know why they wouldn't until he can't readjust to what pitchers are going to throw at him. I think so. I think that's what we'll see. We'll see him for a little bit, like initially, and then depending on whether he can adjust or not, I think depends on whether we'll see any more of him this season. But it's interesting. I have one share, but that's only because I took over a team and that player, he was there, but I haven't gone in on him this season at all. I don't know. Are you buying this or is it too, it's only
so I think, I think K percentage is something to worry about, but I think people worry about it a little too much. I know it's key with him. But we have seen players with high K percentages play very well. It's absolutely possible. Now, I think the thing to watch with Hira is playing time. Where does he fit in with the Brewers? A lot of people think that he might platoon with Rowdy Tellez, which is definitely a possibility. And then if he platoons, I think it'll be a weak side platoon. So I don't know. It's hard to find the playing time there. I mean, obviously they're going to give people a rest, but they still have Tyrone Taylor, who they like, still on the bench too. So I think you just got to look for his playing time and if he's producing. I mean, he clearly forced their hand in spring training. If he wasn't playing well, he wouldn't be on the team right now. But he played really well, so they got to put him on the roster and see if it sticks again. So I think you just got to watch playing time, see how they use him, what they do with him, how often they put him in the lineup. I think if he's in the lineup enough, he's definitely worth a shot, right? I mean, as you mentioned, he made the mechanical change. I think he changed his leg kick a little bit. So we'll kind of have to see what happens there. So definitely someone to watch when it comes to playing time. All right, we're going to move on to Cody Bellinger. Horrendous spring, striking out a ton. Apparently changed his swing again.
Like it's on the hour. It's like every hour on the hour.
I will say this. So, and this is why Eno Saris is the best. If you don't listen to him or follow him, you should. I was listening to the Rates and Barrels podcast and he was talking about it. And these are things that we don't think about and we need to try and think about more when it comes to spring training. And I try and tell people on the pitcher's side not to worry about pitcher's performance at all, because these guys are always toying with what they're doing and trying out different things and trying to see what they could do and not do and blah, blah, blah. So like, you don't know what they're doing, right? Like a pitcher could go out there and be like, I want to work on my curveball today and just throw 40 curveballs. And like, yeah, obviously they're going to catch on. Some are going to get cracked, but like they're trying to do something, So he brought up with Bellinger that he thinks Bellinger was trying to figure out his A swing, which means the swing to hit the ball out of the park, right? And that's all he was using, right? If he was down in an 0-2 count, like he's not going to try and hit the ball out of the park. He's probably going to like choke up a little, use his B or C swing, if you want to call it that, and just try and get like a single or something. Whereas he thinks in spring training, he's like, nah, I want to figure out my A swing. And that's all he was doing. Didn't matter of count, whatever. And like, that's going to bring you poor results, but he's trying to work on something and figure it out. So I think Eno brought that up and that's a good point. And that's why you can't really look at the strikeout rates that much, Now Bellinger has struggled for so long where it's hard not to do that. And of course he's changed his swing again. So it's like, what's going on with this guy? Is he going to be good? I mean, he's still being drafted pretty high. I mean, if he wasn't Cody Bellinger, he would not be going where he's going. So he's definitely obviously someone to watch. I mean, Yeah. Who knows what we're gonna get out of him though.
Yeah, I know. I actually heard that. I know that Saris is kind of in. He's buying the Belly and the Yelly, right? Like him and Bellinger and Yelich, the dips. I think in their prices, basically their draft prices. I think the difference for me between say Cody Bellinger and Christian Yelich is, and I'm out on Bellinger just because I don't know what he gets because he is such a tweaker. And I understand the point of kind of playing around with stuff during spring training. But he does it like he's done it too much where it's too inconsistent for me. I don't know what I'm going to be getting from him. It could go south like real quick. Say compared to Christian Yelich, where I'm actually buying into Christian Yelich. And I just think that because I know more of what the floor is there, and we're only a couple of years removed, from immense power and speed. And I don't know. I think that these two players, and they were both on the list here. I think that they kind of are paired together for the kind of the same reasons, but I think people come across. I think they're both polarizing players in terms of what you think that you're going to get out of them this year. You've got Bellinger who tweaks a lot, but then has like really horrendous spring training numbers. And then you've got Yelich, who's actually played pretty well this spring training. But I think people are doubting, can he come back from some of his injuries? And there are Yelich doubters out there as well. So I kind of fall for, I'm kind of out on Bellinger and I'm in on Yelich this year.
Yeah, I get that. And I would be more so in on Yelich myself as well, as opposed to Bellinger. But I have seen a lot of really good players taking Bellinger, so it'll be interesting. He's going to be a player everybody's going to be watching because they want to see what's going on with him.
It's crazy though because he has been moved down that lineup a little bit because that lineup is insane, in LA. But so it'll be kind of curious to see where he goes. I think right now he's at the tail end there. But maybe that also gives him an opportunity just to kind of figure his stuff out, and maybe there'll be, I don't know, less of a spotlight on him. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. We'll see what happens with him. Next player we're going to bring up that you put in here is Patrick Corbin. I did not know he is not allowed an earned run this spring training.
Yeah.
He's been pitching really well. So Lauren, you put in here, obviously he's someone to watch to see if the rebound is coming.
Yeah.
Now I do want to state, I think the important thing to watch with him is velocity. He started the season off throwing 90 to 91 miles an hour last year. And towards the end of the season, he was pitching a lot better. He's throwing the slider more, and his velocity went up to 93 miles an hour, which is what you want to see with him. So I think velo is the important thing to watch with him. I do know someone who is like one of the better players in the world is in on Patrick Corbin this year. So I'm very intrigued. I think I have a couple of shares, but I think that's the main thing to watch. Were you going to say something else?
Yeah, I think so. No, I think I was just going to see what you thought about him as well. I just think he's interesting. I don't have any shares of him, but he is intriguing. And I know that there are people who are in on him, and it sounds kind of strange, but part of me kind of buys in a little bit. Like you said, I mean, he kind of pitched better at the tail end of last season. He's looked pretty good so far. He's going to be the opening day pitcher on Thursday. And I'm just watching just to see how well he does, because I think, again, like talking about Yelich, he's a couple of years removed from a really, really good season. And I was reading something today where Davey Martinez is basically like, just forget 2021 and your 2020 season. We're going to go back to 2019, when we signed you, and that's all you have to think about. And so he's like, okay, I know I've made some mistakes and we're just going to try and put that behind us. So, but I think it is the velocity. I don't know if there's been any kind of pitch changes or anything during spring training, if he's been tinkering with things or anything. But it's definitely one to watch, because if he can kind of get back on track, I think if you kind of took him really late, and he's probably still available in leagues, that could pay off big time. So
yeah,
I'm definitely watching him.
I was going to say that too. I think he's a good one to watch because he's probably going to be available in a good amount of leagues. If you're playing in Yahoo, ESPN, any home league, most people probably are forgetting about him, and just watch his first start. If he looks good and the velocity is there, pick him up and roll with it and see what happens. All right. Next one is a player who has seen a ridiculous increase in velocity, and that's Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller went from throwing, I think, like 93 up to 97 miles an hour now in spring training. Big questions for Keller. So here's what you want to watch. Again, another player who in your home leagues, if they're shallow, will probably be on the wire. What you want to watch for him, in my opinion, is one, if the velocity sticks throughout an entire game, nonetheless, a couple of games, and two, his command, because Keller has been a pitcher that people were interested in, and it wasn't for the fastball, it was for the slider, because the slider is insanely good. But now with this newfound velocity on his fastball, like, that could completely change his game. But the problem has been the command. So there's two things you got to kind of watch for him there.
Yeah, he's a pitcher that it's funny, I think I would say I'm most skeptical about in terms of kind of who we're talking about today. But I also, there's a part of me, like, he's kind of been growing on me. And, you've seen that velocity uptick in his fastball. And this was something that I think he struggled with his fastball. So I think that it's a good thing to see if he can keep that up. In the off season, he kind of redid his whole pitching motion. And so that looks, in this very short span of time, to be working out. And so I don't know, like I said, I mean, he needed to make improvements with his fastball. So far he's done that. If it sticks, we're talking about, kind of he's got a prospect pedigree, former top pitcher. And I think that, again, this is someone that you could, I think he could pay off. And it's someone it's like Lazardo. I'm just kind of rooting for him, even though I'm a little skeptical, but I'm kind of buying in, and I'm just, rooting for him, because I think it's one of those fun kind of baseball stories that if things kind of work and click for him, he could be a fun pitcher to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think he finished, I was trying to find his last start real quick. He finished the spring training with a 2.92 ERA. But his last outing, he only pitched 3.2 innings, and he did have 2 walks. So definitely something to watch there with that. All right, let's move on to someone who's another velocity watch, and that's Alex Cobb. What you put on there, Lauren, what have you been seeing about him?
I like him. He's just someone that I think that I think his fastball's gone up from 93 to 97. He's just someone prior to spring training that I was kind of buying in on. He had a really great, he had a really solid season last year. Actually, one of his best seasons for him. You saw kind of increases in his strikeout and his home run rates, and then he had career bests in some of these quality of contact metrics. His zone and his contract and his overall contact rate, as well as swinging strike rates, CSW rate. So that was all good, and I think that it sounds too easy. This seems like he pitched really well, with the Angels last season, and now he's going over to the Giants, and I think the Giants are like, yeah, we can make you pitch even better. And I think that part of that was due to the fact he's been increasing his splitter usage the past couple seasons, and it's really been paying off. And I just think that last season combined with some of the gains that we've been seeing in spring training, I just think that he's someone who's going to hit. Like, I think he's one of the safest bets this draft season in terms of hitting this year. So I'm all in. I like to see the velocity increase, and the Giants know how to transform pitchers and make pitchers better. So I think that's what we'll see this year with Cobb.
I think not only velocity too, you need to watch his pitch mix because they loved having Gausman throw that splitter, and Cobb has a very good splitter
similar
as well.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see if he starts throwing that a ton as well. So I would keep an eye on velocity and the splitter usage there. All right. Let's stay on splitter usage. Let's talk about Frankie Montas. So I should have brought the numbers up, but I am an idiot. Frankie Montas last season, he had a period of the season, it was in the second half, where he pitched amazing, like was phenomenal. And it's because he threw his splitter a ton. But I think it kind of changed a little bit towards the end of the year again. And it wasn't the same at the beginning of the year. So when Montas throws a splitter a lot, he is basically unstoppable. He's a very good pitcher. So I think we have to check out and see what his splitter usage is like coming into the year. I think the problem with Montas and why, like, I mean, a lot of people love him, and the reason why I was like a little iffy on him is I think he sometimes struggles to get the feel of his splitter. He's not like Gausman, where I feel like Gausman kind of always has it somehow, but I don't think that's the case for Montas. So that makes me a little weary.
Isn't that in general though, like with, sorry to interrupt, but in terms of throwing splitters, isn't that the thing? It's like if you, it's a pitch that you can get off on, kind of like if it's not working for you, then it can kind of really tank. It's hard to control. Or am I having?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a thing where you're throwing it before the game starts. And if you're having a good feel for it, you're going to use it a lot. Okay. But that doesn't always happen. So just, I was bringing up his monthly usage real quick. So his splitter from basically April to June, he was throwing about 17%. And then July and August, all of a sudden he started throwing it 30% of the time.
Okay. Oh,
so he like doubled his usage of it. And I felt like maybe because he had a feel for it. And then in September, it dipped back down to 20%. So I feel like it'll be interesting to watch his usage there. And if it like is high, like near that 30% range, and he keeps it there, then maybe Montas can become an ace like Gausman.
Yeah, I think I was a little in on Montas. I don't have any shares of him. I think he may have just been going higher than I wanted him, or I was kind of looking at other positions. But I think that he's intriguing. He's like one of these kind of other young arms. But yeah, I think that's just it's that command of that splitter, and when it's on, he's rocking. And like you said, he's coming off of a strong kind of second half, and he's also increased his swinging strike rates in the past couple seasons, and I think that's always something I kind of look at, and that's good. So I think that there's a foundation there, and it's just, but it does. I think you're right. I think it does come down to that splitter, and if it's working, and looking at that usage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You put on Clayton Kershaw on this list. What are you looking for with him?
Well, it's just the idea of a healthy Clayton Kershaw, where, you and I think kind of like both out on Kershaw, in draft season. And I don't know if, it's just, he's been pitching pretty well this offseason. He was working on a new changeup grip, even though he doesn't really throw the changeup that often. It just is something, just a little added thing that he can add to his repertoire. I don't know. I think that if you get a healthy Kershaw, like I assume you've avoided him, right, in all drafts.
Yeah, I have 0 shares.
Yeah, I have 0 shares as well. In our DARF draft, someone drafted him in the second round. And that was a very head turning thing, but I was like, okay, well, but maybe if he does really well, maybe this will pan out. But
well, you could have definitely got him.
Don't know. But I don't know. I think with him, it's not necessarily anything to watch. It's just like, okay, you've got a healthy Kershaw. He says that he's okay for the moment. And at that, are you just getting kind of regular Kershaw? And that's something that you can work with. It's a question of innings and stuff. But so yeah, it was less kind of, let's look at some spring training numbers. Just like, okay, he's healthy. Fingers crossed he could work,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's all about health with him. And it's just like, can he stay healthy type of thing. I think he will be a great pitcher as long as he's on the mound. I just don't know how long it's going to last.
It's kind of like Byron Buxton, just like a pitcher. It's like, I get, all that stuff there, that upside, and you're really good when you're in. It's just that question of, are you going to stay in? can you stay
Right.
in?
Yeah. Which Buxton will this year because
I know you're in on Buxton this year.
I've never drafted them before.
I know.
For some reason, someone's telling me this year, but I'll probably be wrong, so it's okay. All right, let's bring in. Let's talk about the rookies real quick. We have Torkelson, who's going to start with the Tigers.
Yep.
We have Julio Rodriguez, who's now going to start with the Mariners. We have Brash, who's going to start with the Mariners now. A bunch of rookies who were pretty polarizing. It seemed like Riley Green was going to start, but he got hurt. So that kind of took that back. I think with the rookies, I mean, I'm going to talk about the batters because I think pitching's different. I think rookie pitchers could definitely be good right away. I think with the hitters, it's very important to see how they adjust to major league pitching because we've seen a lot of them struggle as of late. And it's funny because before that, we didn't see that. We had the Sotos, the Acuñas come up
spoiled.
and they were just the Tatis, they were just unstoppable right away. And now all of a sudden, like these last few rookies who have come up, like Kelnick, just struggle massively. And so I think with Torkelson, it might be a little more challenging for him. And I think you should watch his plate discipline. And if it's just not there and he's struggling big time, he might end up kind of like a Kelnick where it's like, maybe it's a lost season type of thing, or you're not lost season, but you're not going to get out of him what you want. Whereas I think someone like Julio Rodriguez, who, I've talked to Matt Williams a lot about it, amazing plate discipline coming to the major leagues. And if that sticks, like that floor is so much higher because he's going to be, he's not going to be swinging at stuff outside the zone. He's just giving himself a better shot at being better.
Exactly.
I think plate discipline is pretty big when it comes to these guys coming up. Do you agree? What do you think?
I think that's one of the things where I think, it's so hard to predict how these guys are going to do. And like you said, we've been kind of spoiled because we've seen a lot of guys hit the second that they've come up. But I think that if I had to have any confidence in any of these guys that are coming up that made the opening day roster, and, just a side note, I feel like there are so many that made the opening day roster this season. It's very exciting. And so I'm happy to see that. But I think Julio Rodriguez and then, I've talked about Stephen Kwan. The reason why I like both of these guys is because of that elite, plate and contact skills. These are guys that have these elite rates, that they've carried through all of each level of the minors. And it's the same thing with Keibert Ruiz, going in. These are the guys that I like, and they may not have a certain, they may not say like someone like Stephen Kwan may not have a huge power or speed uptake, but he's got those contact skills that carry and can make you a useful player. And I would take those guys if I have to make bets on any of them. I will take bets on these contact guys who I think that buys them more playing time too, because I think that even if you say you're a speed guy or a big power guy, if you can't get on base, it doesn't really matter. And you could get sent down. But I think that if you can hold your own with contact, even if you have less power or less speed, there's still a way for you to get playing time and become useful. So I agree with you. Long answer, short answer, long. I do like Julio Rodriguez and I do like Stephen Kwan best of a lot of these guys coming up. I'm more confident in that they'll stick basically initially.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring up Noah Syndergaard. I haven't really. Have you seen much on him?
I've seen that. I read something the other day saying that he's the best he's felt since 2019. He has had a good spring. Let me pull it up real quick. He has.
I'm actually looking. So apparently he struck out 7.
Yeah,
night.
He's had a good spring. He's had an 11-2 strikeout minus walk ratio.
Yeah.
Across 8 2/3 inning. He's got he's finishing spring training with a 1.04 ERA and a 0.58 WHIP. No, I mean I haven't really seen anything other than that. I did see that. I think Joe Madden.
I was going to say, I'm just seeing now his fastball sitting 94 to 96 miles an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's kind of by design, like throwing not as hard. Kind of
Maybe.
makes sense. Because I mean, he used to throw harder and his slider used to be like 90 miles an hour, you know?
Yeah.
I think he's someone to watch because one, obviously it's a health thing. I want to see his velocity, which if it's sitting there, I mean,
would you say it was 96?
94 to 96.
Okay.
So I guess average, he was averaging 95 the other night. When he used to average high 90s, right?
Yeah.
You think, oh no, I'm a freaking Mets fan. If I recall, yeah, he was like 90.
He's like in the 90s.
I want to say 97, 98,
yeah.
but I'm looking up real quick right
here.
Yeah, closer to 98.
Okay.
So that's quite a big tick down. I mean, that's a big difference. I wonder if he's doing that on purpose, though, to A, he doesn't want to ramp up fully right away, or B, he's trying not to throw as hard because it's destroying his arm.
Yeah.
So I think if his velocity is down, he's someone to watch just to see how he performs in doing so, you know? I know he's throwing sliders in spring training. I'd like to see him throw a bunch of them as well, because I know he wasn't allowed to last year, which was concerning.
Yeah.
So I just think he's someone that's interesting to watch and just kind of see how he performs, and maybe he can keep that velocity low, be super successful, and stay healthy, which would be huge.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was going to say, I saw that Madden said that he won't have any innings kind of limitations. I mean, it is the Angels. You kind of have like a 6-man rotation anyway. So maybe that helps Syndergaard. The thing is, I think that sometimes Syndergaard, I think, really kind of pushes things. He also has that 1-year contract, so he's kind of banking on himself this season. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I mean, maybe he's kind of holding back right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of goes at it during the season, because then he'll try and get a better contract, I think, like next year. So I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I think it's something to watch, but yeah, I think maybe that 6-man rotation also will help him in terms of kind of keeping his innings a little bit lower than maybe they would in a 5-man rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, I mean, I'm not a coach, so take my opinion for what it is. But as a Mets fan, I've watched Syndergaard and DeGrom, and they constantly want to push the limits of what their bodies can do, and to try and become better pitchers. And DeGrom has consistently been raising his velocity. Everyone's always talked about it. And I just wonder if that's the reason for the injuries. It's kind of been studied, and it's like a known fact that the higher velocity you throw, the higher risk injuries become. And I understand you want to be the best pitcher in the world, but how does that help you if you're not on the mound? And I can't help but think maybe DeGrom needs to take it back like he was. I mean, DeGrom kind of was in spring training. He was only throwing 97 as opposed to 99, which was absurd. So I don't know if that's just the move for both of them, and maybe that's what Syndergaard's going to do.
I don't know. Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. All right. The last player we're gonna bring up here is Shane Bieber. Now, he had a shoulder issue last year, missed a lot of time. I think one thing that's extremely notable with him is in 2020, his fastball averaged 94.3 miles an hour, whereas last season it averaged just 92.9. So pretty big difference there. Besides velocity, watching his velocity, you got to watch for health too. I mean, you can't really watch for that, but you got to hope he stays healthy. But I think if that velocity is back up towards the 94 range, then we could see some big things for him, which would stink. I'd miss out because, I'm a little too afraid of the shoulder. But we'll kind of see what happens there. But I think for him, watch the velocity. See if he's fully healthy when he pitches, and kind of assess, what he, from there, and see, I guess let's see what he does.
Yeah. I mean, of all these kind of pitchers that we've talked about, kind of the ones with these health risks, I guess it'd be like Verlander, Bieber, Kershaw, and Syndergaard. Who are you kind of most interested in, or who do you think has Like, would you, if you had to place money, like who's kind of like would kind of perform well, do you think?
I think it would be Bieber. Mm-hmm. I was way out on Clevenger, and he's already hurt. I don't know if you want to include Severino in that. I think Severino can definitely have a good season too if he stays healthy. But I would think Bieber, because he had a shoulder issue. He did come back from it. I know he didn't perform great. I have nothing to back it up. Like it's not like he's continuously had shoulder issues. Yeah. So I don't know if it will continue, but it's possible. But it's also possible that it's a one-time thing and it'll never bother him again and he'll be fantastic. So I think he has a very good chance of being, good, because I don't think because he doesn't have the injury history like most of the other guys.
Yeah, and he's fairly young, guys. And say I would also put, I think Verlander would be my number 2 on there. I don't know, just maybe because of recovery time.
I feel like Verlander's more all or nothing for me. I feel like his arm's going to either crap out and we're going to get basically nothing from him, or he's just going to be a monster. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Bieber has a higher floor, if you ask me, for this.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that does it. Man, we have baseball Thursday. I can't wait.
I know. It's crazy. I kind of can't believe it.
I know. All right. I mean, we'll obviously be back next week. Do you have anything coming up? I know you writing anything soon for Fan Tracks or anything like that?
I will the following week. I'm going to be doing kind of just a hot and cold streak throughout this season. Guys who are on these hot streaks or cold streaks, what that means for the player, what that means for fantasy managers. And that will start up the week after spring training starts, or the season starts.
That'll be weekly article?
Yeah. Oh, bi-weekly. Yeah. So we'll kind of, so we can kind of see what's going on, and then what does that mean? So we'll be doing that this season. And
you didn't write last year, right?
No, not until like the tail end. I just had like a couple of baseball articles. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say the best thing about writing, besides if you enjoy writing, you enjoy writing. But honestly, the best thing in my opinion, is it kind of keeps you more involved too. It helps you better yourself throughout the season for fantasy baseball. I feel like you know more.
You don't realize that you're doing homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You just kind of
perfect explanation. Okay, it's homework. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And but what are you doing? Because you also have a new you're gonna add a new article. New daily article, correct?
I completely regret my title, because the title of it now, because Josh St. Marie just tweeted out the title it should have been, and it is 1,000 times better than what I was gonna call it. But anyway, so I'm doing just like last year, my daily streamer article. So that'll be my streamer pick, deep league options, shallow league options, all that good stuff. And then I'm doing a new daily article, which I tweeted out today, which is called What You Need to Know. And it's basically, I'm going to summarize all the important stuff that happens the night before or the day before in baseball, whether it's someone showing pitch mix changes, velocity changes, hitter hit a ridiculous, has had a really high max EV that he's never had before, or a swing change or anything like that. And I'm going to put that in the article. So this way, about it, this way, you can read the article and you can know all the important things that happened the day before.
And you're doing this daily?
Yes. So that will be daily.
So you won't be eating or sleeping or anything?
No, I will not be sleeping. Yeah, it's going to be daily. I thought about maybe doing it just during the week, but I'm probably just going to continue. It'll be fine. Because it's stuff that I will be doing anyway for my own benefit for fantasy. So why not just put it on paper? So Josh St. Marie said that I should have just called it "And Now You Know," because of my "Did you know?" And now, right? And now you know.
But you could switch it, or can you not?
I guess.
It's so early. No one's going to remember. No one's going to remember.
I just feel bad because I had Drew make this graphic, and then I'm gonna have to go back to him and be like, "Hey, you need to change it for me." I mean, I guess it probably wouldn't take.
You could.
I don't know. I'll think about it. I got a couple days, so.
Okay, you got a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'll be doing. I mean, we have a ton of writers doing stuff as always. If you are listening to our podcast and you don't know, we have our streamer chart already updated and up on our website. You could see like the little title, I guess, on the top of our website there. We also have hitting projections this year that will be updated weekly from Josh. So like if you don't know who to start, you could go to that chart. You could type in the 2 players, see who he has rated higher. And he puts a lot of work into that.
And that's weekly, right?
Yes. It'll be updated weekly. So even if you're in a weekly league and you don't know to start for the week, you can look at his chart and tell. Or if you want to add someone for the week and someone stands out to you, like he seems to have Joey Wendell pretty high up this week. So, for the short week, Thursday to Sunday. So, if you want to add someone just for the couple days who might perform really well, it's a good tool to look at. And, I think it'll be super useful for people when it comes to setting lineups or if they want to stream hitters.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of cool things going on. Obviously, we'll be doing this podcast throughout the season. Like I said, Doug is doing On the Bumps, which will come out Sunday mornings. I will be on those with him as well most of the time. And then we obviously have Drew and Peyton, who will be doing twice a month their Dynasty podcast to basically talk about everything going on there as well. So we got a lot going on, which is
you've
pretty
got
exciting.
All the bases covered. I feel like there's a lot going on in all different areas. Yes, so it's good.
Yeah,
and it's a good crew, and it's been fun. I think it'll be a good year. Season.
Super lucky. A lot of these writers are very passionate about it, and I mean, no one really makes a lot of money doing any of this stuff. So like, you just got to find the people who enjoy doing it, and then they're gonna, they'll do it and do it a good job with it. So. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back next week. Again, please rate and review us if you can, and check out our website, sbshooter.com, and we will see everyone next week. Enjoy opening day, everybody.
Yes, so excited.